So to continue with what I was going on about is, as I said, growing up, I was really incredible basketball player. People would say I was the best in the country. I won an AU national championship. People would say I was the best in the state. I had coaches saying I would be the best in the state, that I would be playing the NBA, all that type of stuff, right? And my dad focused all on basketball, my mom and dad. So they didn't have me doing anything else. But this is the thing. As I was describing, I'm a little bit self-conscious because I was looking at myself when I was making the videos, and now I'm like self-conscious about my facial features and stuff, so I'm trying not to be. But basically, yeah, my mom and dad let me do whatever I wanted. I could cuss whenever I wanted. You know, they never did any discipline on me. I never once was put on timeout. I never once had to do any chores. You know, I never had any discipline, period. And I was allowed to cuss. I was allowed to do whatever. You know, my mom and dad were the parents who let me watch South Park and let me watch all, you know, I was allowed to listen to the Eminem album without the filter, without the censorship. You know, when I was like 10, 9, my dad didn't care. My mom and dad were like the cool parents. They let me do whatever I wanted, and they thought I was the best. They thought I was the greatest. And like I said, my sister, they were like, they didn't like my sister, but they really loved me. They didn't treat my sister well. They really treated me extremely well. And now it's ironic that it flipped, especially since I discovered the theory of everything, you know. But I got into Harvard Westlake. I was considered the best. You know, that's one of the best schools in the country. I got into it. The only reason why my sister got into it was because I got into it. I had straight A's throughout my whole life. My sister had B's. You know, I never got anything below an A. Never an A minus. Always A's. Always. You know? So it's just ironic. The reason why I say this is because, you know, I think that people are going to think like, oh, well, you must have always been a piece of shit. And your parents must have always hated you. No. My parents loved me. It was a shoot away that messed it up. And then my grandpa coming in with, oh, Ryan must want independence. And this is whole psychology thing. Oh, it must be, you know, everything is one in the universe, and Ryan wants independence so that he will, you know, be one and not be an ally enemy software and da 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 da. And my mom and dad are like, oh yeah. And also Ryan can't make things happen because he's trying to make his dad help him with the shoot away machine. And even though his dad always helped him his whole life, and he still tries, you know, it's just a shoot away machine. We don't know it's a shoot away machine, but you know, Ryan can't force things and make things happen. So he can't force his mom and dad to see, you know, you can't force his dad to help him. You know, you can't make things happen. You can't force things. And then my mom and dad are like, later, yeah, you can't force things, Ryan. You can't force us to see you. To this day, like, you can't force us to see you. You can't force us. You can't make things happen, Ryan. Misutilizing my grandpa's teachings. My grandpa even admits that. He says that he casts pearls to swine, and they don't understand his teachings, and they misutilize them. So, but my point is, like, my parents never gave me any discipline. I never was once put on timeout. Never once. And I was like my mom said, I was a good boy. My sister wasn't. My mom would get mad at my sister because she said that my sister was bad, but I was good. I never did anything bad. My mom was always, you know, my grandma said, or my aunt told me that I would like walk around my grandma's house and I would just like pull clothes out of the drawers and like do whatever I wanted. And my mom would just follow me and pick it up and put them and refold them and put them back in the drawers. Like I said, I never once folded clothes. I never once did a bed. I never did anything. My mom did everything for me. So, and the reason why I bring this up too is because going back to the story with Katie is, you know, now I'm dating Katie and now she's pregnant with my baby, and I never done any of that stuff. And even when my grandma has a cleaning lady she died, but she was a Salvadorian lady. She had like a hunchback, and she was a terrible cleaning lady. But my grandma would have her clean my apartment and still do my dishes and do my laundry and all that stuff. She would come like once a month, if that. And she would do all that. And maybe once every 2 months, you know, but so I never once cleaned even after college, you know. Because even though my mom and dad weren't talking to me, my grandma still lived near me, and my grandma would she would pay her cleaning lady to clean my apartment and stuff. So I still never had done anything in my whole life. I never cleaned. I never cooked. I never, even because I never cooked because I would just go out to fast food places and eat, you know? And that my mom always gave me fat because my mom didn't cook because my mom was too anxious to cook. My mom had anxiety problems and she had issues. She has mental issues. So she's too afraid to cook because she doesn't want to make a mistake. And that's why, I was one of the best basketball players in the country. I wish that people could see the videos. But my mom was too afraid to videotape me because she was too afraid to make mistakes. So I was scoring 40, 50 points. And my mom wouldn't record because she was too afraid to make mistakes. And my dad wouldn't record because my dad was so into watching me and he couldn't record and watch at the same time. So it's just like tragic, dude. It's so tragic. And I wish I could study the video so I can study what I did. But leave all that to the side for now. But my point is, I never had to do anything. So I never learned how to do laundry. But the cleaning, first off, my mom did it my whole life. And then, even after college, my cleaning lady did the cooking. She did all that stuff for me. My grandma's cleaning lady. Once a month, once every 2 months. But I still never did anything because she did all that. So when I was with Katie, I thought to myself, this is an excuse for me to start learning how to do some stuff. Because, so for instance, like when I was with her, when she was first pregnant, she said that she was going to have a cerclage and she needed help. So I was like, okay, well, I'll help you clean. So I talked to the cleaning lady and I asked her, can you teach me how to clean? So I was like, I'm going to use this because I'm an INTP 5W4 wing. So I just like to know. I like to learn things. So I was like, okay, well, I'll use this as an excuse to learn how to clean. So I went to Katie's place and I started cleaning her place a little bit because I asked the cleaning lady, how do I do it? So the first time in my life, I started cleaning Katie's place, and she was pregnant with my baby. So I was going to, and then I started, so I'm starting to learn this stuff, right? And I'm like, this is a good excuse for me to do it, because, she's pregnant with my baby. I'm not going to want to do it for anybody else, not even myself, but this will be an excuse for me to learn how to do some stuff. So I started doing that. But like I said, I was doing Katie's dishes. I had never done my own dishes in my whole life. Never. My mom always did everything, or even my grandma's cleaning lady. I never once did dishes my whole life. I didn't even know how to do dishes. It's crazy, right? How old was I? 32 when I was with Katie. Now I'm 34. So, I'd never done dishes my whole life, but my cleaning lady taught me how to do it. So I was at Katie's place and I was doing the dishes and I was cleaning up her kitchen and stuff the way my cleaning lady told me how to do it. Because I was like, this is an excuse for me to learn how to do this stuff. But then, as I said, Katie wanted to meet my mom and dad, and my mom and dad are like, no, we're never going to talk to Ryan. He's, it's never going to happen. So don't even try. And then Katie started to cry and she asked me why won't your mom and dad talk to you? Why won't they see you? And I wanted to see my mom and dad. And I was like, I want to, trust me. She's like, well, you have to try a different way. I'm like, I've tried every single way. I've really tried so hard to talk to them and see them and for them to treat me normal, but they won't. And she's like, well, why? And I had to explain to her. They think I'm schizophrenic because of the Quadrant model. It was a shoot-away machine. I tried to explain stuff. And she's like, well, maybe you are schizophrenic. And I'm like, fuck, dude. Because I fucking hate when people think I'm schizophrenic because I'm not. It's retarded that anybody thinks that. She's like, maybe you are mentally ill like my dad. She had, apparently her dad was mentally ill. And her mom, her Italian mom probably cheated on him, made him mentally ill, and then went with his Jewish stepdad. So she had a Jewish stepdad, and that might have fucked her up a little bit in the head too. And maybe that's also probably why she did drugs and was like a leftist and stuff. And she had a Jewish stepdad, and she saw herself as Jewish, right? So, and that's probably why we vibed together, because I was a leftist, and I saw myself as Jewish, right? So, so I'm with Katie, but I'm starting to learn how to do this stuff. But then, like I said, she's like, well, maybe you are schizophrenic, and she's upset about that. And as I said, she went to her friend Sylvie didn't like me because, again, my swag flow was off, and I wanted to study videos of when I was younger so I could get the swag flow back. And I wanted my mom and dad to help me get them from the very beginning. But my mom and dad wouldn't help me. They wouldn't talk to me. They just would have talked to me. They just would have seen me. Things could have been a lot easier. But so, my swag flow was off, and her friend Sylvie didn't like me. And, and also I was writing a bunch of stuff on Facebook because I was upset about my parents. If my mom and dad were just talking to me, I wouldn't have had all the stuff on Facebook. And Sylvie saw the stuff on my Facebook and she didn't like me, And I wanted to talk to my mom and dad. And I wanted, if my mom and dad would just see me, my mom and dad told me to take down the stuff on Facebook. But I didn't even know what was on my Facebook because I couldn't get on my Facebook because I had a virus on my computer. And And even when I got on it, I didn't know that you could look at all the videos I made throughout the years. I thought that you had to go through my whole timeline. So I didn't know that people could just see all my crazy stuff that I was making, because, I was making a bunch of weird videos when I was upset about my mom and dad. But if someone would have just told me, I would have taken the stuff down. But no one told me, because I was isolated and alienated, because my mom and dad wouldn't see me. If my mom and dad would have seen me, that's what I'm trying to say. Things would have been so much better. But so, Katie's upset. And then so Katie's like, well, I'm gonna go to this kickback. I'm gonna go to a kickback. It's not a party, it's a kickback. And so she goes to the kickback, and then so she goes to that. I'm like, okay, that's cool, whatever. Just one kickback, it's fine. Even though you're 2 months pregnant or whatever, it's okay. And then so she comes back, and then I go out. I hang out with my friend Noah. Noah's a leftist, and I was a leftist at the time. And Noah's like the type of guy. This is what Noah says. He's like, when people say don't waste time, waste all the time you want, just so if you enjoy the time you waste. His whole thing is like, why do people think about wasting time? They're trying to think of time as a commodity, but he's kind of a hippie, and he wants to be kind of blackish, right? He wants to be black. He thinks he's considers himself Jew. His dad's Jewish, and he's like kind of anti-system, anti-white a little bit, seems, but not as bad as I was. And I think he's even a little different. He actually might not be anti-white like I was, but he's a little bit, and he wants race mixing, But he's like, yeah, just, why do people care about time? Like, let's just, let's be in really the main problem is, we're in a capitalist society where they mistreat animals and they mistreat people, and let's just relax. Like, why do we need to go to work? Like, if we all just relaxed and just became nomads and stuff, and became, went back to tribalism and just like wandered around. And Noah's like into homeless. Like he was against the idea of people making fun of homeless or being against homelessness, because he's like, no, we should all be homeless. Like, it would be better if we just all go back to tribal, hippie ways. And the anti-drug stuff is stupid, and that's so I like that stuff, because I was like anti-white, and I was like, yeah, let's destroy society and stuff like that. And so I like the hippies, So I was hanging out with Noah, and I felt like Katie was a little bit like that. Like I said, she had a mixed daughter. She had a brown daughter, and she seemed a little hippie-ish, and she had 3 abortions, and she had done all that stuff, and so she was a leftist, and I kind of like that. She was kind of like, and Noah was into like the idea of free sex, and like I said, Katie wouldn't. I asked Katie, I was like, Katie, shouldn't we lock Mila's door when we have sex, so she doesn't come out at night and maybe see us? And Katie's like, no, we don't lock doors in this house. We don't lock doors because, what if she gets sick? Like, and she goes, so it's kind of like, but I told my conservative friend about that, and he was like, dude, she needs to lock the doors. Like, what the fuck? Because, conservatives, and he's kind of a white supremacist, like literally, but conservatives tend to be like more into like, anti-sex. And I think that, and I always saw that as the reason why that is because they want to preserve their tribe. And free sexuality is not good for the tribe. Free sexuality deteriorates a tribe, because then there's adultery, then there's promiscuity, and that hurts people's mental health, and it hurts the tribe, So I always, but like me and my liberal hippie Noah friend, he's like, no, dude, just, he didn't like white people. He wanted to destroy society like I did. And he's like, dude, no, free sex is, yeah, don't worry about locking the doors, man. People take, sex too seriously, man. Like, we should be having sex in the streets and no one should care, So, but I was kind of leftist, so I was on the same wavelength as Noah, and I was on the same wavelength as Katie, and Katie was pregnant with my baby. So I was like, but Katie had told me that she was no longer doing the promiscuity stuff, or actually, no, she told me that she still was doing drugs and stuff, but she had stopped, obviously, when she became pregnant with my baby, but, and I let her know that I wouldn't be down with her ever having sex with another dude. I'm not into like polyamory type of shit. Like, I told her that, even though I was a leftist, like I'm still not down with that. So, but anyways, then she was like, oh, Ryan, I'm gonna go to a party with my friends. I'm gonna go to a movie with my friends and with my girlfriends. But then I was like, this was for Halloween, like at the time of Halloween, she was like, so I'm not going to be here this weekend, so we're not going to see each other this weekend. You're not going to come over. And I was like, well, can you take pictures just so I make sure everything's okay? And then she finally admitted, like, okay, I'm not going to a movie. I'm going to a party. So she lied to me about going to a party. But she was like, but it's with Sylvie, and Sylvie doesn't like you, but I was just like, dude, like, it's not necessarily that you're going to a party that I'm upset about. One is you're like 3 months pregnant, and I want the baby to be okay, and staying up late is not going to be healthy. There also is always a possibility you go to a party that someone's going to rape you, or that you even are going to have sex with another guy. Some guy seduces you, whatever. But that's what she thought. She thought it was like, oh, you don't want me to go because you're jealous, or because you're jealous. I'm like, no, I'm mainly doing it for your protection. But I was like, you can do what you want, but I would prefer if I go with you, and I think it's probably best that you don't go to the Halloween party, especially if I'm not going to be with you, And then the other thing was, I was just like, yeah, the other thing was, I just told her, like, it's not necessarily that you're going to a party that upsets me, it's that you lied to me about it, And I wasn't even angry. I just said it like that. But then she kicked me out of her place, and she was upset about me because we woke up Mila, even though I wasn't the one being loud. She was the one being loud. And then she kicked me out of her place. And then she, like I said, I was trying to text her, and I was like, hey, because I was worried because she'd had 3 abortions before. So I was worried, and I was like, is she gonna have an abortion? And like I said, I was doing things for her that I'd never done in my life. I was cooking, not cooking. I was like cleaning. I would start trying to cook later, but I was cleaning stuff and doing that type of stuff, which I never done in my life. I just learned how to do it, But again, a part of it was I just wanted to learn something new. Like, this was an excuse for me to learn something new, and I like to do that. Just an excuse. Even being with Katie in the first place, it was an excuse for me to do new things. Like, I would go to the Sky Zone with her, and like, it was a new thing. It's cool. It's interesting. Like, that's my what they call extroverted intuition in the Myers-Briggs, and so that I can gain more experiences and gain more knowledge about the world, right? So I was using it was a new experience. I never really dated people. Katie was the longest relationship I've ever been in. So yeah, so I'm trying to text her, because I'm worried, because she said that she'd had 3 abortions before, and now she kicked me out of her house. And so I'm asking her, like, hey, how's everything going? How's the baby? And she's not responding. And I'm asking her, hey, Katie, how's the baby? Like, is everything okay? She's not responding. And I'm like, Katie, are you going to get an abortion? Like, what's going on? So I'm texting her, but she's not responding to my text. And this is going on for weeks. And then, but also at the time, I figured that a big reason why she didn't like me was because my swag flow was off. And that's why a lot of people didn't like me at the time, because I had lost it. Like I said, I had lost the swag flow in college when I looked at videos. I'm not going to go into details. But then in 2020, I had kind of gained it again, because I saw this guy at a Nam Yoga event, and he had the swag flow, and I kind of copied what he did a little bit. And I had it for a little bit, but then I forgot what he did in 2021. It was crazy. Like, one day I woke up, I was with the hippie people, because again, I was a leftist, but I never done any drugs. I've never done that, but I was with the hippie people because I was a leftist, anti-white, and these were like Jewish people and brown people and black people, a lot of Jewish people, and they were kind of anti-white and hippies, and they did drugs. But I remember one day I woke up and I forgot the swag flow. I forgot what I was doing, but I ended up kind of remembering, I think, so I'm doing a little better now. But I felt like she didn't like me because of that, so I was trying to explain to her, like, listen, I lost the swag flow, and I understand that she's not into me at this point, because, she's upset because my mom and dad won't talk to me. She's assuming that there's something wrong with me. And I know that my swag flow is off. I know that things are not the best. And so I felt bad for her. Because it's like, dude, like, she doesn't know. She doesn't know that I actually discovered the theory of everything. She doesn't know that in her mind, she's just like, oh, this guy maybe his parents are right. Maybe he is schizophrenic, And like I said, she wanted to go to Thanksgiving to meet. She wanted to meet my parents for Thanksgiving, but she called my mom and dad, or she called my mom, and my mom was like, no, we're not going to see Ryan. It's not going to happen. And then so she talked to me. She's crying about it. And so then, like, when Thanksgiving came, she was going to have me go with her for Thanksgiving, go to her place. But then that night I go, first off, again, she just started talking to me again. For a long time, she wouldn't even respond to my texts. I'm asking, like, hey, what's going on, Katie? You're going to get an abortion? What's happening? And then, but she's not responding. But then she finally responds, because I remember, like I said, I actually asked her, like, hey, can we go? I'll buy you with my EBT money. I will buy you groceries. Can we meet up? Because I want to make sure the baby's okay. And then we ended up meeting up, and then I ended up going to her place. And then, but okay, then she would invite me over, but then she would always flake, you know. So again, like she had lost respect for me. I could tell, and I knew my swag flow was off, and she lost respect for me. So then finally, I went to her place, and it was like the day before Thanksgiving. I was supposed to go to Thanksgiving with her to meet her family, and that would have been good, you know, to meet her family. But at the same time, my swag flow was off. I was nervous, you know. But then she's like, I'm with her. She's like, oh, Ryan, I'm bleeding today. So, and she wanted to basically say to me that she wasn't going to have sex that night. And then she was like, oh, and Ryan, but by the way, your friend Malik, because I told her about my friend Malik, because she wanted to go on a double date with me and one of my friends, and I had asked Malik if he wanted to go. And I told her, yeah, he was a big basketball player and stuff. And, you know, I played basketball with him and whatever. And she's like, Malik, you told me about that he has a younger daughter, right? And I was like, yeah. She was like, well, do you think that he can have play dates with my daughter? Like his daughter can have play dates with my daughter? You think you can ask him? And I was like, what the fuck? What kind of question is that? I was like, do you want to fuck Malik? Like, what are you doing, dude? Like, what the hell? But she was like, oh my God, no, that's not what that's. She was like, she didn't even say that. She was just like, and I didn't even respond like that. I just asked her very calmly. I was just like, because that's the way that I felt, but I just asked her calmly. I was like, do you want to fuck Malik? And she was just like, what? And she was like, and I asked her, I said, I was like, do you still love me? And apparently you should never ask a woman if she loves you. That's what someone told me, but I don't know why. But I was like, do you love me? Like, do you still love me? She was like, I don't love you. She's like, I'm not feeling you anymore. I don't love you anymore. And again, she's pregnant with my baby at this time, and she's asking to have play dates with my black friend, you know. And I'm like, what the fuck, dude? I was like, this sucks. And then she was like, I don't know if I want you to go to Thanksgiving with me. And I was like, what? Like, I wanted to go to Thanksgiving with her, but she was like, I don't know if I want you to go. So I was just like, okay. And I left. So I didn't go to Thanksgiving, but I called her the next day. I was like, hey, I want to go to Thanksgiving with you. I want to meet your family and stuff. And she was like, it's probably best not to, you know. So, like I said, she wanted to first go to meet my family. She wanted to go to Texas to meet my mom and dad, but my mom was like, told her, no, I'm never going to talk to Ryan, you know. So then Katie's like, again, this is how people do. They victim blame, and they're going to make assumptions. So she's like, huh. And she told me, she was like, before this, she was like, tried to tell her, like, my mom and dad won't see me. She was like, Ryan, you need to work harder. Like, you need to really try to see your parents. Like, it's wrong to not see your parents. And she was trying to make me out to be the bad guy. I was like, listen, I try. And she's like, I couldn't imagine not going to Thanksgiving with my family. And I couldn't imagine if my family didn't see me. And like, that would be terrible. And I was like, well, that's the way it is for me, you know? And it sucks. I hate it. Yeah, it is terrible. And I like that she was on my side about that. But then when she called my mom, and my mom was like, yeah, we're never going to see him. She was like, she told me, she was like, even if you've done something before my mom said this, she was like, even if you've done something really terrible, your parents should still see you. Like in her mind, I know she's thinking like, what have you done that's so terrible? And again, people victim blame, but for most cases, the victim is to blame in a lot of ways. I know a lot of people with personality disorders who are fucked up, and they get a lot of problems happen to them because they're fucked up in the head. Not me. I'm a normal person. My swag flow was off for a bit. That sucked. And I was a leftist, and I was anti-white for a little bit. That was confused. But I don't have personality disorder. I have no problems. But my mom and dad won't see me. So, but she's going to make assumptions. She's going to think, oh, well, you must have problems. Like, what did you do? Like, are you mentally ill? Do you have schizophrenia? And again, this did not help my situation. And like I said, if my mom and dad would have just talked to me and seen me from the beginning, it would have made things so much easier. Could have done so much other stuff if they just would have talked to me and seen me. But it caused a lot of problems, them not talking to me and seeing me. So, you know, she's like, then she's crying when I'm with her. She started to cry. She's like, do you have schizophrenia? I think you might have schizophrenia, like your mom thinks. And I'm like, dude, no, I don't. So it was a tough situation, but I'll get more into what happens next in the story.